Sean O'Rourke made his debut on Today with Sean O'Rourke on RTE Radio 1 this morning. I met this very political animal to talk about his lighter side. We spoke about music, movies, and whether Sean will be tuning in to that other new boy, Pat Kenny, on News Talk. First off, I asked Sean, how was day one in the hot seat?
I think we started with a cracker. I think we hit the right tone, we hit the right stories in the right way. What was really unusual was the fact that on my very first day I had an extension of almost an hour on the programme because of the funeral of the Nobel laureate Seamus Heaney. We started the programme with an interview with Edna O'Brien. Not in a month of Sundays would I have predicted she'd be my very first guest. We also got an important interview with the former UN Chief Weapons Inspector Hans Blix on an important international story. Then we had an interview with Joe Schmidt, the new Irish rugby coach, and we had other elements as well. So I thought we had good guests, we had good conversations, and I think it's a measure of where we can take this programme and what we can do with it.
The nature of the programme is that it changes minute to minute, it's on the run. How do you keep cool head?
Well, first and foremost, I know that I have presented myself something in the order of 5,000 radio programmes on the News at 1 before a very big audience, the third biggest in the course of Monday to Friday on the News at 1. I also know, and this is even more important, that I'm working with a really experienced and very professional crew. No matter what happens, they'll be able to deal with it and give me the information I need. So a combination of, I suppose, experience and support means that you have every chance of getting things right.
Now, this morning you had some great interviews, including Joe Schmidt, as you said, and Edna O'Brien. What about Pat? He had Bono and a Bishop. Will you be listening?
I wasn't. No, I mean, to put it like this, I think, I'm quite a busy person in this new job. I have material to read. Again, at the risk of being boring, I once interviewed Brian Cody at the start of a new hurling season. I said, Brian, what county are you most concerned with? And he said, Kilkenny. So what broadcaster am I most concerned with? Well, Sean O'Rourke, and working on my own game. I just don't have time to be worried about how other people do their jobs, be they in Radio Kerry or Radio Highland or wherever.
I think the thing everybody wants to know after this morning is, what do you think of Oliver Callan's imitation of your good self?
I think, based on what I heard this morning, I think I'm still on the I'm in the area of the inimitable Sean O'Rourke. I think he hasn't quite got me, but I might say that, wouldn't I? Other people would take a different view. I think he has work to do, but I think I gave him a new subject, and I did say it on air. I think Joe Schmidt now could have possibilities for Ollie Callan.
Well, he came on saying that you love the smell of napalm in the morning. You're not really that kind of guy, Sean, are you? Blood on the studio floor.
Well, I mean, all I say is just listen back to the tape, or even if you were listening to the programme, I don't think there was napalm. I think that's just part of Oliver's talent, and they like to sort of, people like to build you up. Look, it's all great fun what we're doing. It's important that we do stories obviously in a serious way, but we have a new director of news. Well, he's there for over a year now, Kevin Backhurst, and he, in his first address to the troops in the newsroom where I used to work before, he talked about the importance of hitting the right stories, treating them well, being imaginative, and also having fun. And certainly I think we managed to do a lot of that today.
Speaking of having fun, the RTE guide has you down as hitting off a 14 in your handicap for golf, but the Sunday Times says 16. Is it 15 then? I
suspect, well, it's officially 14, but I think it'll be 16 before too much longer. That's if I get out soon enough to start getting the point ones back. I suspect golf now will have to wait for a few weeks.
You did quite well in the recent ORourkes outing, I believe.
You're very well informed. I had 35 points. I was a guest of the ORourkes Golf Society, but it was a reasonable show. I think I left a lot of putts out there, but I played like God from the bunkers. That said, what was I doing in the bunkers in the first place?
What about music? The lighter side, as people call it. I believe you're a bit of a U2 fan. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose going back to the Joshua Tree, and I mean, I remember being at one of their great concerts in Croke Park. I think it was 85, like in the old Croke Park, and another one that might have been 86. And I've been to U2 concerts in the new Croke Park as well. But look, I would say, would Eclectic cover it? I mean, sort of anything that Ronan Collins plays, I tend to like. Anything that John Creedon plays, I tend to like. I suppose I have a few favourites of my own. I kind of like the Cors. I like. I particularly like Sean Keane, the man from Carlastrand.
You're not a big moviegoer, I believe.
No, I mean, again, that's something I have to start getting back into. I mean, I did make a resolution a couple of years ago that I needed to get to a movie a week, but I'm afraid I'm well short of that. Maybe I'll get back to I'll start back with the One Direction one. I'm not sure though.
What was the last thing you saw in the movies?
I think it was Lincoln with Daniel Day-Lewis, and And maybe there's been other stuff since. I mean, you know, theatre-wise, I've been to a few of the Druid, that Tom Murphy trilogy. I found them absolutely enthralling. Sorry to anticipate your next question. But I think one of the things I like about taking on this job is I'm going to be able to reconstruct. I don't have to reconstruct my own sort of persona on air. I just have to give a bit more of myself. That's what the Director General said, and he's the boss. But what I can reconstruct, I'll be able to reconstruct my own social life. You know, the idea of going out on a Saturday night is now an option again in a way that it hasn't been for the last 10 years, and similarly maybe Friday nights as well, so who knows.
Good stuff. What about TV? I mean, you're a radio man, you've been in journalism for 40 years now. Was TV a big part of your life growing up, or did you watch TV now, or just current affairs? Oh
look, you know, Rin Tin Tin, Daithí Locha, how far back do you want to go? Check cartoons, Stunnaling on British Show, all that kind of stuff. But I think as far as television is concerned, I would be primarily, I suppose, you know, a current affairs person. I mean, I would have sat in. I remember one of the moments that I can clearly remember, which kind of drove me or confirmed in my head that I wanted to be in political journalism, was the famous election count of 1977. That's what 36 years ago now, and watching the performance of Brian Farrell and people like him, and I think John Bowman was there as well, and also then turning over to the radio coverage when the telly shut down. Then I became part of that myself. I've anchored or co-anchored the last 4 general elections, so maybe they'll let me do another one.
Sean, thanks very much.
Okay.